Welcome to Cut the Slack. With your hosts Billy Candelaria and Timothy J. Coy. Sponsored by InlandEmpireHealth.com and PremierLocalMedia.com.
Peaceful parenting. That's the topic of today. I don't know much about it. I know you've mentioned it a few times, and then I know there's an author or a specific person that you brought up that knows quite a bit about that. What's the name?
Stephen Molyneux.
There we go, Stephen Molyneux.
Yeah.
I grew up in a pretty traditional home. My parents were Pentecostal Christians. They went by the letter of the law of the Bible, and that was spare the rod, spoil the child. So I got spanked pretty frequently, definitely with the belt, sometimes a wooden spoon, and things like that. And it was just par for the course. And just about everybody I knew kind of grew up that way. Were you the same or different?
I have one recollection of getting the belt, and yeah, aside from that, my parents were pretty mellow and laid back.
Okay. So they were doing a little bit of the peaceful parenting.
I'm the youngest of four, so by that point, it's just like whatever, you know. So well, my older siblings, they got it a lot worse than I did.
And I was the oldest, so I was kind of the the crash test dummy, so to speak, or the guinea pig. And I noticed that my younger siblings didn't get it as much as me too.
Yeah.
But there's an argument to be had for both sides of it. Some people say that kids need it. Some kids may need to get shocked out of the bad behavior or something like that. So I'm not really sure if that's true or not, though. Not with everybody. Maybe with certain cases, I don't know. But you're saying there's another way of doing this, and we can do it without any violence.
Yeah, so peaceful parenting is a philosophy that basically states we do not aggress ourselves physically onto anyone. And It's rooted in the non-aggression principle that says, we negotiate. We have communication skills great enough to accomplish what we want without physical harm.
Sure.
And so it kind of loops back to this whole bullying trend that is a really hot topic nowadays, where, kids are going to school and there's that one bigger, more aggressive kid who's picking on people and, maybe physically harming them. And so if we're going to expand on that and really get behind bullying and not, accepting it, there's no greater form of bullying than a fully grown adult physically harming a little child that has nowhere to go, is dependent on this adult for food, shelter, love, clothing, everything. It's not talked about, like you said, it's socially acceptable to spank your kids, to do these different types of corporal punishment.
And lately, in the defense of a lot of parents, it's become unacceptable socially. If you see someone spanking their child in the middle of a Walmart, then you're going to think certain ways about them, and a lot of people are going to be pretty surprised and shocked that that's actually happening. It still happens. So what would you say is the reason for people going right to the spanking?
It's frustration. It's a lack of communication skills. It's generations of programming that they've gone through, just like we justify it on our children because we went through it. We can justify doing it now to the next generation. And what we're finding is that this type of behavior is only breeding more aggression. So if we're going to really try to create, a positive impact and create, healthy, stable minds, we have to demonstrate from a very young age that you don't physically harm people to get what you want, because that's what's being programmed into that little mind is if you're bigger, you can get it. And so that little child who's 7, 8, 12, they are slowly going to get on your level. And there's going to be a point where you can no longer hit them because they're going to hit back. They know that, you know that. It's this unspoken thing that people try to dance around. And at the very core of it all, you're going to end up negotiating with them at some point. So just start that early. Start that as early as possible. And it goes down to, if the kid is having a tantrum in public, you do not respond. do not respond to it. You simply remove them from the environment that they are, disrupting. They want candy. They're going through the grocery store and I want this. Okay, you grab that from them and you put it on the shelf and you keep walking.
It takes some internal strength to do that.
So, there's a lot of self-control. And these are just little tools that you need to remind yourself of in those environments, because it's very easy for someone to just get frustrated and spank or slap or pinch or whatever it is, But yeah, all that's doing is instilling into that young mind that when I'm older, this is what I can do.
When
it's
I'm big
building
enough,
up. Yeah.
When I'm big enough, when I'm strong enough, I can do this to someone else.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I never really thought of it that way. And to a lot of parents' defense, I have to say your point is well taken. There's a lack of knowledge. And I used to say there's no manual or class on parenting, but there are now. There are
Tons.
lots of books and there are lots of classes you can go to. But people aren't necessarily doing that in mass.
Yeah.
So the lack of education continues on.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of parents are at their wits' end and they just don't know what to do. The child's being this or doing that, and they have just no idea how to work with that. So let's get to that. Give me your top tips on how to peaceful parent and things that our parents can do today to really start to infuse this into their parenting style.
It's like anything else, you wouldn't jump to physically harming an adult right off the bat. That's not going to be your first instinct.
Sure.
Because there's going to be a fight there,
or legal repercussions.
Exactly. So you wouldn't do that in normal circumstances to an adult.
Right.
But somehow people feel entitled to do that with their kids. So number one, it's don't react. That's a child. You're the adult. So recognize that child is just living out their child-like existence. Like we said in the first episode, well, I want to eat whatever I want, and I want that freedom. And that's great. I get it. But that's a childlike mentality, and that's not going to get you very far.
I want.
So that is what we're dealing with here, and it's just this little kid who, I want this and I want that. And you have to rise above and not play into their emotional turmoil.
Right.
And
so if a 5-year-old can just trigger you instantly, then you may also have that same level of skill.
Right.
A 5-year-old level.
Yeah. So rise up. Don't react. Know that kid is just being a kid, and you don't need to match their energy. You need to neutralize it. You need to diffuse it. And the only way that you're going to diffuse aggression, because that is aggression in some case, right? Maybe that's part of the argument as well. They're hitting me, or they're screaming and, hitting things off the wall, and they're aggressing. And it's like, yeah, because that's raw human nature. That's not being formed,
Sure. Well, they're a young child. They really haven't had the education. They haven't been taught all the social skills yet. They're just kind of getting used to society, and they're trying to make their way the best that they know how. But they're 5 or 7 or whatever age they might be. Whereas we're older adults, supposedly more mature, and instead of being reactive where they hit me, I hit them back, it's more like we need to look at this in strategy and say, okay, this situation is happening. They're a child and I'm an adult, and I can deal with it a few different ways.
Yes.
Rather than just smacking them.
So before entering an environment, maybe it's dinner or a party or some other gathering, you lay it out beforehand. You say, we're going to stay there for this much. We're going to stay there for this amount of time. We're going there because of this. And if you act up, we leave. It's not a negotiation. And that's what a lot of people I think they get into, is this back and forth negotiation in the moment. You need to have that negotiation up front before you get into it.
So predetermined rules and cause and effect that's going to happen.
And now you put it in their control. Say, listen, if your room isn't clean, this is what your room looks like clean. Okay, the bed is folded. That you can see your countertop. All right, the floor is clear. once socks and wrappers and receipts and old dishes and, once that starts to happen, things are going to get taken away. And I don't want to, but you need to maintain a clean room.
So this is maybe for an older child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Or anything of expectation.
Sure.
Like
you communicate the expectation clearly.
Yes.
Set maybe positive rewards possibly.
Yeah.
Right? And then also repercussions if things don't go the way that we planned.
Yes. Even at the dinner table, little Leia, she's 2 years old. She's about to be 2 in about a month. She knows that when she eats, afterwards, she takes her plate to the sink. And today it was hilarious. Anyway, I'm there eating, and Leia she has this tostada, and she's making crumbs all over the floor. And I'm just kind of laughing like, oh my God, like she's just making a mess, a little monkey. And, but again, I'm like, Leia, you're going to clean that. I'm saying it, you're going to clean that. And she goes and gets the broom and the dustpan, and she starts saying, clean up, clean up, clean up. And she's singing while trying to clean up.
Right.
That's a very micro dose of
Sure.
a future habit that is being instilled. And so
I love it. I love it. And I've done the opposite. I have 5 kids, so there's been times where with the younger kids especially, where we haven't reinforced, we haven't given them after steps. If this happens, then the next thing that's going to happen is that. And of course, so we didn't employ the proper strategy there to make sure that they were responsible for some of their own messes that they've created. But I really like what you're saying. I think that we can all take a step toward modifying our parenting style to be a little more intelligent, a lot more cerebral and strategic, and hopefully start to bring more peace to the world through our parenting.
Yeah, it's that structure going into situations beforehand, setting the expectation, and because at that point you put them in control, and they like that. They like knowing that, okay, if I do this, I get that. If I don't do this, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
It's not a spontaneous freak out anymore.
Right.
It becomes, okay, I know that if I eat and I leave this dirty dish in my room in a week, there's going to be a problem.
Right.
Maybe not right at first.
Right. So you're setting structure, you're setting expectations, and then if you can stay consistent with those things, I think consistency is a big part of it, because if you're inconsistent, they don't really believe you. It takes away from your credibility.
Boom.
But if you can be consistent with that and give them a roadmap, then they have a lot more chance to be successful.
Boom.
Would you agree?
Agreed.
All right.
Good stuff.
Thank you for joining us on Cut the Slack. For more information on health and nutrition, please visit us at inlandempirehealth.com. For more information on promoting your business, visit us at premierlocalmedia.com.